cherry picked. So we had pretty well just the rural areas to work with, and that was about it. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to John King.
Hi, I'm John King, and I'm a Sueur County Commissioner for one of the 5 districts in our county. We started this, we're pretty much newbies. We started about 6 months ago with forming a citizen-driven committee driven by Barbara Klein, who will get a chance to introduce themselves. And trying to go down that path of finding better access or access to broadband communications within our county. And like every other county, there's some uniqueness to our county that other counties may not share. We do share a common border with Waseca County, and we do have collaborative efforts already of joint powers with Waseca County, and it occurred to me when they were giving their presentation that there may be opportunity for more collaboration with the broadband initiative. So I'll let the rest of the group introduce themselves.
I'm Sarah Malco. I'm a citizen on the coalition in Sueur County.
I'm Barbara Klein, and I kind of got this started. I was Sueur County Human Services Director at one point in time. I live in Sueur County. I went to the Region 9 Summit, and I called up my horse veterinarian county commissioner, John King, and I said, can't we just get going? And so we have been, and it's really been a terrific process, terrific timing, and I'm hoping that in 2 weeks I'll be elected to the House and be able to help you there too.
I'm Jeff Neisen. I'm the IT director for Sueur County. When this got started, they were looking for some direction from a technical side to help some of the residents that have joined the coalition to get some understanding, so that's where I'm part of the group.
Hi everyone, I'm Kate Hansing McDonald. I'm a planner with Region 9 Development Commission.
I guess we'll get started. So this is our report. It's going to be similar, but there's differences from with Waseca. We don't have as many numbers in our report. We're more broad in our approach. So this is the map of our county coverage. A lot of pink or red. A lot of not covered areas. Everything where the coverage is the low-hanging fruit that's been picked. Sueur County has a population of about 28,000 people. The people within the red area amounts to about 3,000 or 10% of the county that is underserved. And the service providers have done a very good job of meeting the basic needs of the cities and densely populated areas around the lakes and that type of stuff. The areas around the lakes are, the population is bigger around a group of lakes than it is of a couple of cities in our county. Our vision, pretty generic, probably the same as everyone else's. We want access to high quality broadband, preferably fiber to the home, but realistically there may be a stepwise process where we do a hybrid wireless before we get entirely to a fiber to the home. We're fortunate in a way that we have at least 10 providers in our county that provide internet now. That's an opportunity, but it's also may make it more difficult because you don't just get to court one, or it's more difficult to court just one provider and say, hey, come in and give us a countywide solution, because you already have players that are providing services, have infrastructure, and have a vested interest in areas of the county. Demographics, again, pretty basic, 28,000. We're not a rich county, we're not a poor county, we're kind of middle of the road. We got quite a few road miles in our county, about 11,000 households, and we have a stable industry base and business base in Sueur County, especially in the western part, but There's a fair number of businesses scattered throughout the cities in other cities of our county. We do not have industry as a rule. Zoning ordinances in our county do not allow for commercial buildings and that out in the ag areas. So our industry and businesses is concentrated to the cities. Geography, very similar to Waseca County. We can plow cable pretty well, but in the western, probably quarter of the county, it falls in the Minnesota River Valley, so there's challenges with terrain and geography as far as wireless signals and that type of thing going down in the valleys and the coulees along the Minnesota River Valley. Community survey results is coming. We have initiated a community survey with a link on our website for the county that have encouraged people to go and give us some basic feedback. That has enabled us to get about 350 responses so far. The survey's only been up a month or so, and we're going to be doing more outreach to have people fill out the survey. It's an anecdotal. It's not a scientific survey. It's going to provide anecdotal evidence, and already it's providing information that we pretty much knew, is that people want broadband. They want good broadband, not crappy broadband, and they need it to be able to conduct business, to be able to have their children attend school, a lot of homeschoolers. There's also the school system is kind of driving this in many of the schools in our county, because they've provided iPads for the kids and are encouraging distance learning on snow days and doing some of the homework on their iPads. But, so they give the kids iPads, but they didn't realize or wasn't a thought that a lot of those areas don't have internet. So the kids have to go to grandma's, or they have to go into the library. They can't finish their schooling at home because they don't have internet access. Jeff is going to give a little bit about the survey here.
We worked with our local county GIS last week and had them kind of take some of the results and put them on a map for this presentation. This first map just kind of shows of those who've answered the survey, kind of where residents have currently internet or don't have internet. Some of the areas don't even provide for any sort of internet. With the providers that we have, our GIS has gone through and just located throughout the county where certain providers exist. This is kind of the telling map that the squares represent the service providers, and the colored circles represent the satisfaction level of our current residents that have filled out the survey. A lot of them end up in this very dissatisfied or somewhat dissatisfied status, and like I said, we've gotten about 10% of what we would presume is our underserved area, if we're going by that number. And of those that put in the most dissatisfied, this is kind of the area it falls through, which clearly is falling into the red area from earlier in the map. Wrong one.
Look, you're still behind the clicker.
Oh.
There you go.
Spoiler alert, they're coming next.
You help?
I'm not a Mac guy.
Someday.
I got it.
Oh,
Perfect.
there you go.
So we're documenting need, confirming what we thought and assumed We're now kind of going down what's the next step for us. So first, our summaries, we're going to expand the survey to include more individuals. Hopefully, when we send out the tax statements next month, there'll also be something going out to all the people that get tax statements, telling them to do the broadband survey on our website to gather more data, to further bolster the opinion of most is that we need to do something about the broadband in our underserved areas. Also, plans are to apply for a planning grant for matching to conduct a feasibility study, and then hopefully be able to go forward and conduct a feasibility study, getting us ramped up and prepared to be able to get shovel-ready projects, apply for border-to-border broadband grants to be able to help with the infrastructure, because as broadband in Sueur County is in probably all the other counties, financing is a big issue, and who pays and how do you pay. We also want to generate more grassroots involvement in the industry. We have quite a bit of broad interest in this community-led broadband coalition. A lot of businesses, a lot of industry people, communities that want to continue to see this project moving forward. And we also want to re-engage our internet providers. The committee's already interviewed the 9 or 10 internet providers that provide service in our area already, just to find out what their plans are. Do they have any specific plans? What their business model is? Get some information. We're going to continue to engage with these internet providers because there's some that have just recently received significant CAF2 funding and county to develop the expansion of broadband in underserved areas and leverage those dollars. Our key assets, we have a pretty good business and industry base in the county, and that helps, that's adequately served by internet services, but it's certainly not all cable to those businesses, and we want to help continue to provide that. The county does not have an economic development individual. We've left economic development has been left up to the individual cities, so we need to maybe look at doing something a little different on a countywide, because broadband is not just it is economic development for businesses, but it's also to have people move there, and people aren't going to want to move to rural areas or desirable areas if they don't have internet. The school, as I mentioned before, the schools are involved in the process. They're maybe further driving home the need to provide broadband across the areas that are underserved, because there's school-age children that can't do their work at home the way their teachers are telling them to, because they don't have internet. So they either they have crappy dial-up internet, which is not going to meet their needs, or they got to send them into grandma's, or we've even had complaints from police that too many people are parking around the library and getting the internet signal, and that's led to problems with loitering and littering and all that stuff. So there's definitely a need. People are seeking that internet out, and we just need to help provide that for the underserved areas. We have multiple internet providers in the area that have assets, that have cable in the ground, that have Wi-Fi towers up and that, multiple providers with multiple modalities. So that's a good thing, but we also have to be able to work with all of those. The survey results support what we thought, is that we need to have better and more expansive broadband. We have a fairly robust pole system. There's one major electric co-op that serves 85% of the county with electricity. So we have a one provider that's doing that. So we have infrastructure. If we look at the fiber aspect of perhaps going a cheaper route with hanging the fiber rather than plowing it into the ground, and that saves some money. We also have a significant number of towers, both cell towers and MnDOT towers in our county that could help with some of the Wi-Fi logistics. We have infrastructure that's there. Our model looked at only having to construct one tower in our county, and we would have 90% of the county covered with a Wi-Fi solution. And the location of our county is between two regional economic centers, Minneapolis, St. Paul, and Mankato. We have a lot of people that are moving, or we have a lot of people that live in our area that already are commuting to either Minneapolis, St. Paul, or Mankato, and we see that as just something that's going to continue to grow. People want to live out in the country, they don't want to live in downtown, and if they can have 10 acres and a horse, that's even better. It's good for me because I take care of horses. So technology decisions, what we need to look at is hybrid wireless versus fiber only, and then aerial fiber, or hanging the fiber on the telephone poles or burying it in. There's hybrids and combinations of all those iterations. Really need to find out, start courting specific providers to see what's going to work best for all parties so we can provide the solution. Partnerships, we have, because we have 10 providers that all have an interest, to some extent, we have potential for multiple partnerships, both with current internet providers along with electrical utility companies. We have willing partners that are already involved, that are doing something already and can indicate that they continue to want to take part. We have internet providers that are providing internet in our county that already have developed partnerships with other internet providers to put broadband, make it available to constituents, and so we don't necessarily have to reinvent the wheel or make sure that they get along because they've already figured that out. Utility companies are interested in participating, and businesses are eager to partner. There's some medium-sized businesses that need better internet and have indicated that they're willing to participate. And we also have a major fiber optic company that is not headquartered, but the principal owners live in or on our community in our county. So that's another benefit in our area that we could try to not exploit, but further develop. Financing, the typical possibilities of financing. We with the deed grants, the USDA, our county has a very good bond rating, and we have bonding capacity available. That doesn't mean that we should charge everything and sell bonds all the time, but we need to look at other avenues of that. And also, I'm a very strong component that because the underserved areas are in the townships, I feel that the townships should be participating in helping solve the problems for their constituents. Townships, as a rule, they grade gravel in the summer and they plow snow in the winter, and they plow the gravel that they graded in the summer into the ditch. And that's a lot of what townships do, but this is an opportunity to do real, tangible things for their constituents. So having them levy or something like that or participate in that would be a welcomed and likely necessary participation. Looking at for the Wi-Fi solution, looking at about $5 to $6 million to provide that to our underserved areas in our county. And if we're looking at fiber to the home in the areas of our county, we're looking at, what was that, about 15, 16 million. So big numbers, but perhaps manageable if we can find and cultivate partnerships and resources. Some of the challenges, like most other places, is financing. Other challenges is the low-hanging fruit's already been picked. All the densely populated areas that providers meets their business model needs, they've already served those areas. So it's getting the fiber or the internet to the people that are underserved. looking at about, 200 to 250 residences per township is what we're looking at. The geography is suitable in the majority of the county for wireless and for plowing in cable or hanging cable. The challenge is going to be in the western quarter of the county where we have river valleys and ravines that may cause difficulty in meeting internet, especially Wi-Fi needs. And also the financing issues is there's a high degree of tax burden on agriculture already. We're largely agricultural county, just like Waseca is. And the funding for government and the funding for schools is the same funding. It's on property values. Therefore, we look at more financing as like we have on our county tax statement, that each residence or business has a solid waste fee. So that's a fee per incident where someone lives or where there's a business, rather than how much property they own and the value of that property, because it's disproportionately going to be paid for by agriculture as opposed to people that live in the country but need the internet as much and arguably, if not more, than the agricultural properties. And we want to make sure that we're not going to the well too many times. And then we also have CAF providers that have had significant CAF awards, and that creates competition, but also creates uncertainty. So we need to talk with those providers that have the funding and find out where Lee Sueur County is on their list of expansion, and see if we can't funnel some of those CAF grant dollars to the infrastructure in Lee Sueur County with an attractive package of additional financing, perhaps from the county and townships, but also through additional grant funding. And that's it.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.